to Wild and Weird Radio, a Wild and Weird West Virginia podcast. Welcome back to Wild and Weird Radio, everybody. I'm Joe, one of your hosts, and I'm joined by Ron Lanham and Jessi Doyle across the desk from us here. And we're going to have a great time. We are talking today about obscure cryptids. We love cryptids here on this show, and we are going to have a good time traveling down the path of some very, very, very strange cryptids that are not so popular or lesser known. So here we go.
Like the Joe Squatch?
Yeah, like the Joe Squatch. Yeah. And
Joe
we're probably
Squatch?
going to revisit sheep squatch at some point today. So that'll be fun.
I see a Joe Squatch when I wake up every morning.
Yeah, I know, right? He's one of the few people that you will run into in this stuff that is taller than me.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's about an inch taller than me. It was weird when we were hanging out at Wild and Weird Con. I was like, oh wow, he's taller than me. Okay, cool.
And I'm like deceptive. Everybody thinks I'm taller than I actually am. When people meet me, they're like, whoa, you are really short. Yes, I am 5'2". So yes.
It's like a little angry Tinkerbell showed up with guns and knives.
Yes.
So how's everything going, guys?
It's going good.
Y'all had a good week?
Yep. It's all good here. Nothing exciting at all.
Not
Well,
really.
we had something exciting. We had a bunch of people that dropped out for the premiere the other night. That was fun. We had a interesting group chat and hung out with some folks.
That was the excitement of the week, though, Joe.
Yeah, and then today is our good buddy Ron's birthday. Happy birthday, Ron.
Like I said, nothing exciting. Nothing, just an
He is
ordinary day.
8,527 years old today. So.
If I can find it, I'll post a picture this week on Wild and Weird Radio's talk page of the way I first found Ron when his ship crashed.
Yeah, that's about right, Jess. You probably got closer than anyone else.
He was naked, shivering, and covered in goo, or is that how it is?
You would be surprised how accurately you just described the photo that I'm going to post.
That was the Terminator, I believe, right? Yeah, I think so. Anyway, can we get to the news desk?
Yeah, fine. We'll get.
All right, let's get to the news desk, guys. Let's pull them up here and see what we got. Starting back up. And of course, the news comes to you from the Wild and Weird talk page here, or talk group, whatever we call ourselves. It doesn't really matter because,
that
you know,
page's name is such a mouthful that we just change the name of it every time we say it. So
yeah, well, you'll find it. I mean, it's there. We link to it everywhere. It's actually the Wild and Weird UFO and Paranormal Talk group. And it literally is that. There's a lot of stuff that goes on over there, and we have some really good people that provide us some really cool stories.
That they do.
So let's start it off.
What do we call those people, Ron?
I don't remember. You tell me.
There are Wild and Weird field correspondents.
That's what they're called, Joe. They're called the Wild and Weird field correspondents. And we have one very in particular one that just goes out of its way to bring us news story after news story every week, don't we?
Every week.
Yes, that's right.
Every week.
It's almost like they would win a prize, but there's no prize.
No, there's no prize.
No prize.
Self-satisfaction is a prize.
Yeah, that's
Exactly. So this first article comes in, like Ron was saying, straight from our good buddy Brandon Wills, Wild and Weird field correspondent, director, we'll call him. Director. See, there's your prize.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Sure.
You're now the director of field correspondence.
Nah, we'll give him a title. We'll change it every week. That way we won't get used to it. Go ahead.
And the article that he shared is one that has actually come back into the news, because back in 2017, or I think even a little bit earlier than that, we were getting these periodic blips, these bursts of energy that were being detected from a source that was unrecognizable. But there was a pattern to the energy that was being sent out. It wasn't just erratic energy. We know what that sounds like because we get those kind of bursts all the time, but there was a pattern to this. So this was shared actually from NBC News, and this is just a really right thing, because we get radio signals all the time, right?
Yep.
It's not uncommon to get radio signals just bombarding Earth all the time. And now we've been getting these waves of almost intelligent radio signals coming in waves. And it's this particular burst that they're talking about is a gigantic burst of energy every 20 minutes or so. And it disappears for several hours, several days, and then returns and is constantly doing that pulsing of every 20 minutes or so. Now, I remember once upon a time it was actually theorized that this was a Dyson Sphere. And for those of you guys who don't know what a Dyson Sphere is, we're going to dive into that topic in a whole episode because it's part of the Kardashev scale. And what a Dyson Sphere will do is basically a series of what we would interpret, or at least make sense of, some kind of energy collection. So think solar panels, but we were to completely encase our sun and our orbit around the sun. So it'd be Earth and the sun, and the planets in between us and the sun would all be encased in this giant, essentially a dome of solar panels that would catch sunlight and would be able to increase our energy capacities by infinite amounts.
I don't know.
So,
I think the best thing about that, Joe, what you just described, is basically it's a reverse disco mirror. So you would have the sun, bouncing off, right, and boom, shooting it back in. The best thing that could happen right there, in my opinion, is we hit the focal point just right, and we completely obliterate the entire planet.
Right?
No more intelligence. That's it.
It'd be like finding the focal point with your magnifying glass on a hill of ants.
Yep. But no, you're right. We had some stuff a few years back, and it was from the FRBs, the fast radio bursts. This thing is a little bit different, and it's closer, much closer. It's only 4,000 light years away. So literally it is in our cosmic backyard. There's theories that it could be a gravitar, a pulsar, just several different possible natural explanations. But like you said, there is some other theories that we may be seeing communication between two places, I guess. It's not really meant for us, I don't think, is what this insinuation was. That we just kind of intercepted it.
And the official does say that there's no need to panic, that it's not alien intelligence, that it's obviously a natural occurrence. Right. It's obviously something in nature, that it's not like a intelligent communication or anything like that. But I mean, isn't that what they want you to think?
Yes. Anytime you hear the words "do not panic," Jess, you should always panic. Right. Okay. No, we don't know what it is, but it's very interesting. And we have a weapon of sort now, don't we? We have the James Webb up there, so I got a feeling that we've got a target for that telescope.
Oh, I thought you were talking about one of the other weapons that we have up there.
No, we're not going to talk about those. No, we won't talk about that because we're getting ready to start the first, I believe, intergalactic war, right? In that, possibly
this is going to be more of a civil war, since technically it's our moon that we're attacking.
Is it? Is it our moon though? That's the problem.
Hey, as far as I'm concerned, it's our moon.
Okay,
There's
so it's
an American
on.
flag
it's
sitting
on,
it.
Is what you're saying.
It's our moon.
So it's on.
There's an American flag in a studio, and Stanley Kubrick was there. Okay.
That's a topic for a later date.
That is a topic that will actually show up soon. So, here we are. We're sitting here on Earth. It is 2022, and what rolls across the news? The fact that one of Tesla's, or not Tesla, but well, technically SpaceX.
SpaceX.
One of
Elon Musk.
Yeah, one of Elon Musk's rockets is hurtling through space. They lost it. It just kind of, well, we lost track of that one. And it is now hurtling towards the moon. Now, the funniest part about this is actually Elon Musk's reaction. And the quote that came from this was, "Oh, yeah, we've probably sent a dozen or so of those at the moon. It's hard to tell." He just, we probably bombarded the moon with rockets for the last couple of years.
This is great.
Didn't pay attention.
Yeah, this is great. And we wonder why UFO sightings are on the rise.
Right?
We've been attacking the bases for years now.
They're coming here, but like, what are they doing?
Was it Mr. Show where the politician campaigned to blow up the moon? Is that what that? Do you remember that?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I promise I will blow up the moon.
This is.
Yeah.
I mean, why not?
That's without having to go as far as getting the focal point right and incinerating the planet to dust.
Right.
You could just blow up the moon. It'd have just about as gravity-like shaking.
I'm coming up with multiple ways to destroy the Earth. That's what I'm hearing that this episode is about. I'm just saying. I don't know why, but it's kind of taking that turn.
It has. It has.
Coincidence? I don't know.
So, Ron, tell us about what happened last week.
Oh boy, we had
in the report section here, because we actually got a sighting report sent in.
We did get
and
a report.
Great video. So tell us about it.
Yeah, we got a really good video that I actually was able to do a little bit of work on. Didn't have to do much on this one at all, guys. I mean, it was captured by one of the guys in the members on the group, and they knew exactly what to do. Pull out the phone and stay as steady as you possibly could and get this thing on tape. And they got a light, a very interesting light. It was a bright orange.
Really strange
ball of fire is what he described it as. He literally said it was a fire in the sky. And that's his words, not mine, so.
Well, now we know that story is going to change like 10 times.
Oh, well, anyway. So it was 7 p.m. And it was on the 25th. So he's out there. He was getting ready to go to band practice, actually. Looked up in the sky and sees this thing whizzing through the sky. And he said, well, at that point, he thought it was a plane that was on fire. So he pulls his phone out and is like, I'm going to get this, this plane's on fire. I'm going to get this. And then the thing kind of slows to a stop almost and starts kind of hovering there. And it starts pulsing brilliant, flashes. And you can see that in the video. He caught all that very well. Now, what's really cool about it is we actually did find some people who said that they had seen the same thing. So this was a multiple witness type scenario.
Yep.
I went on immediately and checked, what was going on with the clouds and the wind and all that, because the first thing you think of when you hear a bright orange is, oh, that's a Chinese lantern. And it just so happened that this wind that was blowing that night was only 2 miles per hour, if that, and it was going to the southwest, and this thing was traveling east. So we have about 2 minutes of footage of that thing. You can actually go over and watch it and see the report that I put up on there. But we reported this over to Stan, and he put it out, Stan Gordon, and he put it out, and we're trying to figure out, if anybody else saw anything to come forward. So far, like I said, we got one person that came forward. So if you saw it, come forward. We don't need your name. We just need the story, so we can just try to figure out what this was and how we can validate this, because something flew over Nitro.
Yeah, it was really odd. And for those of you guys who are listening who aren't familiar with the area, we do have an international airport now that is within 20 miles, but you're not going to have landing lights. Plus, you're not going to have landing lights that far out from an airport, but you're also not going to have landing lights going the opposite direction from the airport.
You're also not going to have landing lights that are a single point of light, which is what this was.
Right.
It's
that stopped.
Yeah, exactly what you said, Jess. Exactly. It's weird.
So speaking of weird lights in the skies and reports, we actually had a friend of the show send in another account, but this time from Oregon, all the way out from the West Coast. And this was sent in from a game cam. And I believe you guys have all seen this video at this point. I know Ron and I've analyzed it, but that was one of the craziest orb captures I've ever seen, and for a few reasons. The object shows up into his game cam after it was already triggered by a rabbit that was down the road, and then this light just flies into frame and hangs there for a second. The camera goes off before the light leaves, so this light would have had to leave, meaning that one would think it would set off the sensor of this game cam. However, it did not. So we're talking about a light that moved into frame. It was not detected by the sensor of the game cam, but it was a single focal point of light that was not splashing light on any of the surroundings. So the ground wasn't affected by it. The trees around it weren't affected by it. It was a self-contained orb of light. And that is the best explanation that we can give. We don't know what it is.
I can't give you any idea what that is, because
and we have the file directly from the game cam, so we know that this isn't faked. It's straight from the game cam.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. There's actually a water dish, or a dish of water that seems to be there, and you would expect that if this was a light source of any type, like an actual alpha light source of radiation, that we would be seeing a reflection and we'd be seeing shadows. We don't see that. And this is one of the, it's got me scratching my head. So it's so much so that we're actually going to be doing an episode just on orbs in the coming weeks. And it's going to be a pretty in-depth dive on this subject.
Well, and this one, we got a hold of Joe, Jessi's Joe, to talk to them about their experience that they had. Because I remember when you were telling us about what happened down in your research area and you saw those lights.
Yeah. We've had several instances of seeing these lights that seem to come from nowhere. They're just floating there. In our main research area, we seem to get white lights, and Joe actually saw like an orange light up there. And then we've also seen like dark orange lights at Lost Cove in North Carolina, which is an abandoned ghost town. Basically, it's very, very, very hard to access. So we've had a couple instances where we've actually physically seen these orbs, and where I think the Lost Cove incident was actually caught on camera, but we were using one of our night vision cameras. That was our old one before we got the good one that we have now. So you can just see down into the valley and it's just darkness. But Joe and I are kind of talking while it's going on. And I have that video. I'll share it with you guys. But you can just see the light come up and then go out. So you can see it in the distance in the darkness, which is down into the valley. And that was at Lost Cove, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, these things, well, I don't know what they are, but they're not operating the way that physics tells us they should.
And what's really cool about orbs, and we'll talk about this, again, we're going to do this episode, but what's kind of cool about it is it kind of blurs the line between, is this something supernatural? Is this something ghostly? Or is this a UAP kind of thing? So that's kind of what makes them really, really interesting is it's kind of, they blur some lines there.
They fit into all possible models. Yeah.
So we've got one more cool little snippet of news to share with you guys, and that has to do with a possible, I don't think so, UFO video that was leaked. I'm honestly, I don't buy it. I think you saw my response on the video the other day, Ron, when you asked me what I was thinking. There's a lot of characteristics in this video that just don't add up for me. Now, I don't know what you think, because I don't think you and I don't think we even spoke about it. But there's a few things in the video I just don't like. They don't physics. They just don't make sense. Now, I know we were just talking about light and whatnot with these orbs, but this was light in like the style that Ron was mentioning, where it was like an alpha radiation light. Here is a light that is a source, it is emitting light, shining light down on the ground. But then there's also this weird like CGI looking cloud that they disappear into and then come back out of. That was just odd. So what did you think about that video?
I think I would need more data, and that's pretty much what I responded to on some other sites that it was posted on. And could it be a helicopter? It's not a UFO. Okay, that's me. That's 100% me. All right, my opinion. This doesn't show anything otherworldly at all. If anything, it's just 3 helicopters. Now, here's the weird part. It seems to me that someone took a video of 3 helicopters and manipulated that image. And it kind of seems like it was manipulated in a weird way to almost make it controversial. It just seems like it was doctored just enough to get people talking. And then here's the funny part about that. And I actually asked a couple people this, why? Why did this go so viral so fast? I mean, it was on NBC, it was on CBS. It's been on all the news channels.
It has been.
There's no reason. This would have been something, I mean, honestly, the video that came out of Nitro is better.
It was.
But this went viral.
The quality of the video is technically good quality, but like you said, it's been doctored in a way that just
seems
looks
it. I don't know
weird.
if it has been. I'm just saying it seems like it has been.
The only one of the helicopters had flight lights on.
Yeah. That's
not typical. Any kind of flights, you have to have your flight lights on, unless you're attacking. That's the only time you turn your flight lights off is if you were actively bombing the crap out of somebody. This wasn't the case, and this wasn't a training exercise, at least what we could see.
I don't know. I mean, like I said,
it was just really odd. I didn't like it. I just didn't like it.
To give you a full analysis, I can't. I would need more data, and that's pretty much where I'm at with it. I'm not going to run with this and say that that's, two helicopters escorting a UFO. Has that happened before? Yes, that has been reported to have happened before. That was the Cash Landrum sighting, actually, back in the 80s. They reported that there were Chinooks that were accompanying this huge craft. And that was a very famous sighting case. That is the one where the radiation sickness and all that. But has it happened before? Yeah. But it just kind of something off about this sighting that I'm not.
Yeah, it's really.
I'm not going to.
And Joe, you mentioned that you why did this go so viral? Why was this on everything? And it's with all this disclosure going on right now. And if you start getting videos that come out that seem way more plausible, then maybe that lends more credence to there actually being something going on. But then when you have a video that has something that just is off about it and doesn't seem right, and most people who watch it say, there's something wrong here, this looks kind of like CGI manipulation, the texture is wrong in the video, people look at that and know that I don't think this is real, and maybe that just instills kind of like a seed of doubt. It plants a seed of doubt into people's minds about, well, is all this UFO stuff just manipulation and computer manipulation, or is it real? And so it just plants that seed of doubt when videos like this go around to every news station and everybody goes, yeah, that's a little, no. So then when they hear something that's actually a piece of disclosure or an actual video that seems like it's real, then that seed of doubt is already planted in them.
Yeah, you literally just defined the lie sandwich. That's it. There's just enough truth there to cause people to say, and divide camps. And that's kind of what we have seen. We saw that with the balloon thing last year. Remember, Joe? The same thing. There was just enough truth to cause this massive fracture in a community. Yeah. So maybe it's the same kind of thing, guys. Maybe they want to take a little bit of steam away from this whole UFO thing that's been gaining up. I don't know. The final thing in the news, my friends, will be Dave. West Virginia Monster Con. Wait, I have to do that right so I can add the effect.
Dave Spink's World of Weird, West Virginia Monster Con, March 11th, 12th, and 13th. So yeah, guys, Dave Spink's World of Weird is hosting the West Virginia Monster Con March 11th, 12th, and 13th in the beautiful town of Richwood, West Virginia. If you guys are unfamiliar with where Richwood, West Virginia is, it sits within Monongahela National Forest boundaries. So trust me, when
that's
we
Bigfoot country.
It's Bigfoot country. It's beautiful scenic drives, beautiful river. It's still going to be cold as all get out, but it's a beautiful area to come visit. And Dave's got a cool little shop. He's going to be hosting the Monster Con there. We're speaking. Ron and I will be there speaking.
Talking about something. I don't
know. Yeah, we ain't figured it out yet. We're probably just going to wing it. But
a dance number would be great.
You never know, Jess. You never know.
Yeah, I like it. I like
it. Soft shoe.
Could happen. Could happen.
So, guys, go check out the West Virginia Monster Con. It's going to be a good time. So, wraps us up with the news. Let's dive into the Obscure Cryptids. Who's up first? Jessi, you want to go?
Sure, let's go for it.
All right.
So I have 3 obscure cryptids today that I'd like to share with you.
How obscure
so we'll start
are they,
with
Jess?
one. Well, some of them are not super obscure.
Okay,
some are.
Okay. And I'm just saying on an obscurometer.
Like the obscurometer.
Okay, on the obscurometer, because I'm going to make ones. Okay, the obscurometer. Where are you at on this one?
So I'm going to start with one that is not as obscure as the others. So this is
one.
the
okay.
Number 1, the famed bat squatch.
Ooh.
So the bat squatch, it looks basically like a primate with bat's wings. And the first sighting of this was reported in April of 1994 in Pierce County, Washington. A gentleman by the name of Brian Kingfield said that he was going down the road and his truck mysteriously just died. It cut off on him and just mysteriously died. And he was sitting there in the road, and all of a sudden, this huge humanoid that looked like a giant primate with bat's wings just landed right in front of his truck. One weird thing, I guess it's all weird, but one weird thing.
One weird thing, you're just going to pick one?
Yeah. One weird thing about this description is he said that the fur was purple. So normally with these kind of cryptids, it's feasible that this could be like an animal that's undiscovered. It's got red fur, black fur, something like that. Purple fur. So I thought that was really weird. Another sighting of this particular animal was in 2009 in Mount Shasta, California. And Mount Shasta is famous for so many weird occurrences and disappearances and cryptids and all of this stuff. Mount Shasta is absolutely one of the weirdest, creepiest places on Earth. And it was a couple of people described this as a creature flying across the sky. And when they said it was huge, and when I say huge, they claim that this giant humanoid creature had a 50-foot wingspan, and that it flew across the sky on leathery wings. So I thought that was pretty interesting. A 50-foot wingspan makes a huge, huge creature.
Pretty sure that's a Scorch Beast from Fallout 76, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about what it sounds like.
What they just described.
50-foot wingspan.
50-foot wingspan.
Monstrous.
Yeah. Wow. Continue.
Yeah.
I'm frightened.
So we were thinking about this. Joe and I were talking about this, and it kind of reminds us of, we used to talk to, if you ever had experience with J.C. Johnson, he's passed away now, but he was a cryptozoologist out of the Crypto Four Corners area. And he had a team out there, and a really, really awesome guy. They've got a portrait of him at the Bigfoot Museum in Cherry Love, Georgia. But J.C. Johnson was a really, really just wonderful man. He was a great researcher. He was a field researcher, was out all the time. He's passed away now, but he had a thought about the bat squash. He kind of tied it together with, the phenomenon when people find footprints, like Sasquatch footprints, and they find them in the mud or the snow, and they go and then they just disappear and they stop all of a sudden, and there's no turnaround. There's no anything like that. He theorized that, and also said that people came to him with accounts that this was actually a Sasquatch that had hidden wings and would walk and then fly off from that point. So I think, some people talk about the interdimensionality of Sasquatch, and that's what's happening. It's that he's disappearing that way. And then you have witnesses telling researchers that no, Sasquatch, or this particular type of Sasquatch, actually has wings that are like hidden wings that burst out and the Sasquatch can fly away. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thought on the disappearing footprints phenomenon.
Yeah, that's obscure, all right. That's I mean, it's given the fact that that's how we can track bald eagles when they land on the ground, is like, oh, footprints, no footprints, wings.
Yeah.
But that's
cool.
It's
cool. I like it.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that one before. That's interesting.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Because you're talking 50-foot wingspan here.
Yeah.
Like, do you think this was a gross over-exaggeration?
I think that's a gross over-exaggeration, because if you've got a creature around, around Mount Shasta, that it's also still a tourist destination. There's a lot of people that go to Mount Shasta every day. Yeah. Around year round, and if you've got a creature that has a 50-foot wingspan and then you only have one sighting of it, this is either BS, which could be BS, or
well, it's bat Squatch.
This is a gross exaggeration. Yeah.
So, bat Squatch.
I like it. It is BS. It's bat Squatch.
So
it's bat Squatch.
Either way, it is. So
that's a good one, Ron. Good job.
Well,
So, okay, now here's my thing with it. 50-foot wingspan. We're just going to, with the exaggeration aspect here. I've been to Mount Shasta. The roads are generally, like, as you're going, the majority of the roads, you're like trees and trees. Right? So this thing would have had to 50-foot wingspan its way that way up around, and there's a lot of trees.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't. How did it hurt taking off? Did it get damaged and break trees? 50 feet is big.
That's huge. That's absolutely huge. Yes.
Yeah, if it's a multi-dimensional, it wouldn't need 50-foot wingspans.
Yeah, what's going on?
Unless the wings are some way that it, the wings are its conduit to, vibrate at a frequency to phase out of our realm.
Well, I'm not going to make fun of any of it.
Pulled that one out of thin air.
Because there's some weird stuff, but the 50-foot wingspan, you got me on that one. I just can't.
I personally have a feeling that this was if these people saw what they think they saw, or I think this would be a gross exaggeration.
Mushrooms.
Yeah,
probably.
Usually everything's just kind of wavy on mushrooms, not 50-foot wingspan creatures like a bat Squatch. But hey, you never know.
Like because what kind of mushrooms are out there harvesting? I guess.
Yeah.
And how much of it you ate.
Right. So I don't know, guys.
So, all right, I've got a good one for you, and it just so happens to be the anniversary of this weird creature, and that would be the Octoman.
Octoman.
Yes,
I know Octomom.
Wait, isn't he like a superhero or something? Like there's a comic Octoman.
It sounds very familiar.
I'm just making that up.
It does sound familiar. I think there was a weird like B movie made in the 70s that was something like this, but
there should be.
The description of this thing was, I'll just read the report. So in Claremont County, a New Richmond police of Ohio, they get this weird anonymous call, right? So they go out and follow up on the call. It's a man who is just frantically ranting about a creature that he watched emerge from the Ohio River. Now, we've heard some weird stories of creatures emerging from rivers before.
Well, the Ohio River was incredibly polluted. Didn't it catch on fire?
Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah. Okay.
So, now this thing was indescribable, and is how he referred to it when he made his phone call. Well, when the police get there and they start talking to him,
he described it.
He describes it because as you do. And what this thing was, he described it as a shambling nightmare that came up out of the waterways, and he described it as a colossal gray creature standing on two legs with a lopsided chest, four ugly tentacles, and rolls of fat running over its large bald head. Yeah, so just
I'm out.
absorb. Like, it sounded like I just described like some weird, one of those weird Japanese Power Ranger monsters.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure it was probably used as reference material.
What year was that, Joe?
59.
Yeah, probably was. You're right.
So, yeah, it's just a really odd creature. Now, we do hear this another here in West Virginia. We have a weird, wet, gray creature that was seen up on the side of the road near a creek.
Seal Man.
No, the Grafton Monster.
That's what I said.
I mean, was it also a shambling nightmare? I love that phrase.
Much. I mean, the whole 0.5 seconds of its being witnessed, I'm sure, was a shambling nightmare.
Yeah, and
it
afterwards
somehow found its way into pop culture love and lore.
Well, thank you, Bethesda.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But for real, I mean, it was only in a few books, you know that.
Yeah, it was only because there just wasn't much to the story, but
there was
here we are. We've got the Octoman. So imagine this, if you will. You've got a head that is got fat rolls on it. That's just weird. The chest is lopsided. So I mean, does that mean it's like a hunchback? Like it's got like this, or is it like, there's some kind of big bulbous deformity? What is it? Because the bad thing is there was never really a sketch artist that came up with this one and said, you know what, I'm going to draw that. A lot of these other sighting reports from back then, you actually would get sketch artists who would be like, yeah, sure, give me your report. I'll sketch it out. We'll make it happen.
So Jonathan Dodd, if you're watching, we're waiting on you to draw Octoman.
The challenge, because I'm not going to do it.
The Octoman challenge. Yeah.
I absolutely refuse. So it's yours. Ball's in your court.
All right, Ron, you're up. Give us a weird, obscure cryptid.
I don't know. It's not weird or obscure. I just think that I think one of my favorite weird ones over the years has probably been the Fresno, the Night Walkers, the Night Stalker thing. I think that's a cool little legend,
It gets the walking pajama pants,
the haunted pants, or whatever they call this thing now. It's got all kinds of names, but and I mean, pop culture loves it, like you said, because pop culture drives so much of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the Fresno Night Walker, that was I think 2007. Is that right? Is when it first burst onto the scene from a security camera footage.
Because it was. It was a YouTube. It was made famous through YouTube.
Oh yeah, it got uploaded, and then of course everybody starts seeing them, as they always do. But I think that is one of the more obscure ones that has made it into recent, I guess, lore is what I'm going to call it. There's a few. I mean, there's a couple really cool ones. I like the Bunny Man of Northern Virginia. That was a fun one. I don't even understand it. I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of these things, they get so much notoriety, and they're just little things like, snippets, little stories that people would tell, right? Yeah. And then they take on this massive life of their own, and all of a sudden they have this origin story and mythology. It's like comic books. These things are... I mean,
this is what captures people when it comes to cryptids. This is what captures everybody that's really into this, is that this is something that is, I mean, as adults, it's so fun to finally have some mystery in the world,
Oh, yeah.
And it's fun to have something that really just strikes your imagination and it gets you so excited. So I think that a lot of people just hear these descriptions of these things, even if it's a one-off sighting or something like that, and they just run with it because it's like something so exciting. It's like for once as an adult, you have this possibility that something like that could exist, and that's so exciting for, I mean, everyone, right?
Oh, it is, and sometimes it's a headache for people as well.
Yeah.
And a good case in point would be my favorite not cryptid is the not deer, and I'm calling it a not cryptid, but Sorry. I mean,
the not deer pains me.
It very
we'll
much
talk
pains
about that
me.
one here in a minute, though, because that's got a bit of a story to go with it.
There may be something to the not deer. This is surprising, right? So
Ron is becoming a not deer convert at this
point.
No. That's what's happening.
No.
He's joining
I've got something to share with you guys that you have not heard before, and I promise you haven't heard it before. Go ahead.
All right, Jess, you're up. Give us your second obscure cryptid here.
My second obscure cryptid. So I have the American hyena. So this is commonly a story from areas between Montana to Nebraska, the Great Plains of the United States. The native tribes in the area also refer to this creature as a Shunkawarakan. I think that was correct. If it's not, just deal with it. So it was described as having dark fur and a sloping back, similar to a hyena. It looks like a hyena, a large hyena, but in the continental United States. So that is the more common story of the American hyena. Well, I have a kind of an interesting little story that is something that we found during our research. So as I talk about this a lot of times when I go on podcasts or I talk about the work that I do or anything like that. When we do our research into an area or looking for a new area, one of the things that we do is we go on to forums that are not dedicated to cryptids or hauntings or anything like that. It's more forums that are more dedicated to outdoor pursuits. So one time we were on a hunting forum and found an interesting post that really struck us as this is definitely something we need to look into. So on the hunting forum, a hunter described seeing a small pack of large hyenas with very dark fur. And they were like hyena-like creatures in the United States. And this is taking place in the southern Appalachian region. So you're thinking about Tennessee, North Carolina, North Georgia, upstate South Carolina area, the southern Appalachian area. And so he claims that he shot a deer and that this small pack of large hyena-like creatures with a sloping back and the raised hair and everything tried to take a deer from him, tried to take a kill from him. And he shot at them and they ran off into the woods. His main concern is that he was shooting at a protected species because he could not identify it as a coyote, a dog, a coy dog, a wolf, anything like that. It had a shorter muzzle and it was absolutely not any of these things. So his concern was that he was taking shots at something that was perhaps a protected species. Well, another hunter responds to his post and claims that he shot one and killed one. And it kind of came out later on that this guy was out poaching. And so he didn't want to take this creature in and turn it in for anything or take pictures or anything like that because he was out poaching. So he claims that he burned and destroyed the carcass and buried the remains. So later on, a third hunter responds that he has heard about this hyena-like creature in this region and that the old timers in the area talked about it. It was guys that he's talked to and knows his entire life have discussed this exact creature before, that they're very rare, but that these people have seen them. The old timers referred to them as hissing beasts because they hiss and get very protective of a kill. And if you see them and they get threatened, they hiss at you and spit and snarl. So they were referring to them as hissing
interesting
beasts. Yes. And I'd never heard that phrase before. So that was like hissing beasts. Okay. So that really kind of like threw up a red flag right there. So now if you go and try to find this post, because we were doing all this research on it and, you know, there's like increasing reports of these that people can't identify them as coyotes or coy dogs or anything like that. And they had this short muzzle, like I said, sloping back. And now if you we have tried to find this post. We have tried to find this post on this hunting forum and the post is completely gone. So conveniently, right? So if there's anybody that is in this region, the Southern Appalachian region, or anywhere, and you have a story or any kind of like information about American hyenas or any stories about them, or if you know anybody who's possibly seen this, I would really like to know, because this is something that's really kind of struck me as a very, very interesting cryptid that could actually exist, because you have all these people keep talking about it, and there's all these strange incidents that surround the possibility of there actually being a hissing beast / American hyena out there.
Well, Jess, go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say, what's really interesting about that is here in West Virginia in 2020, I believe, I'm fairly certain it's 2020. It's 2020 or 2021. Somebody actually had a roadside sighting of what they described as a hyena, and they called it in. It was in the northern part of the state, and they called it into Les O'Dell. And he went out and checked it out. And remember, he sent me a message, and he was trying to, pick my brain about what misidentification could have been made, because the description of this thing was, now, mind you, the size of this hyena was way bigger than an actual hyena. It was
right.
Like if you were to make a hyena the size of a brown bear, it was about like that. So it was huge. And there were, I think he said there were 2 or 3 of them that he saw. And they went and followed up on it, and you can't really find a whole lot of evidence on that stuff on the road.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was, when you brought that up, I was like, oh wow, I remember a story from here in West Virginia that actually was a hyena. That is odd.
That story is kind of interesting, because like if it was just one, so I don't know if you've ever seen, there's a German Shepherd that's kind of famous online that has a genetic disorder. He's got like a short spine, so he has that sloping back, and he's got the shorter back legs and everything like that. So if it could have been a bear with a genetic disorder or something like that, if it was just a one-off. But if the person you're talking about is talking about seeing 3 of these, that kind of cancels out the possibility that it's just a rare genetic disorder, right?
Yeah, it would, unless it was some kind of mutation where they were it was like a codominant mutation that was passed down from inbreeding. Yeah, you could see that reoccur, but like you would think that in subsequent generations it would continue to get worse. So they wouldn't be uniform.
I don't know.
Ron, what you got?
I think what you got right there, Jess, is that you're saying it's a real cryptid. What you just described is an actual cryptid.
I think so.
Yeah, it's not just a legend. It's actually what cryptids are. This is an unknown animal. And there seems to be some form of evidence, and at least in visual evidence, that multiple people have seen it. So that is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So that's,
and you don't hear a lot about this. And like I've never really seen much about it until I start looking at these hunting forums, which is what we do. We do that all the time. And we found this post, and then these people were chiming in, and these are not cryptid people. These are not cryptid forums. These are not,
you're not in a place that you're going to be collecting this kind of stuff on
right. Yeah. And this is, people are talking about, bow tines. They're just talking, they're talking about calibers and you can tell I don't hunt. I hunt squirrels with a 22. That's about all I do. Yeah. But they're talking about hunting. They're not talking about cryptids. They're not talking about anything, it related to this. These people, very few of them would even be interested in this, aside from maybe watching Finding Bigfoot and enjoying the show. That's as far as that would probably go. So the fact that they're all chiming in and talking about this, and that these accounts are so similar, I think, Ron, you're right. We actually have maybe a...
Yeah. I think you guys got something there. I mean, that's pretty cool. Now you got to name it.
Yeah, now you got to come up with a good name.
Really cool backstory, because that's what makes all these cryptids.
Let's see if I can track one down real quick. So,
now we got to contact the guy over at Creepypasta, make a new backstory, post this thing online, and make it official.
There you go.
I mean, that's it. So you got
it. Yeah, that's a really odd sighting there, because like you were saying, the hunting forums are not where you're going to go to find paranormal stuff.
No, just not generally.
No. It pops up from time to time, and then people will chime in and say, oh, yeah, but these aren't people who are out there actually trying to start the conversation.
Right.
Mm-hmm. No, it's true. Yeah. And then you get your typical troll that runs in saying, "Oh, everybody get their tinfoil hats on," you know.
Yeah, but the fact that the hissing beasts thing, I don't know why
That's
that
cool.
just, yeah, that really struck me. So yeah.
I like that.
So here's my next obscure cryptid. It's probably one of my favorites just because it's a freak. And that would be the Squonk. Have you guys heard of the Squonk?
I have
before?
actually heard of it, and it is hilarious.
I just like Lisa from Cryptid Comforts. She makes the cute little crying.
Yeah,
she does. Yes,
they're so precious.
Yes,
so.
yes. Lisa makes a very cool one.
Yeah.
So here's a little bit of backstory about the Squonk. Originally, it was sighted in Pennsylvania. Loggers and whatnot were going through trying to settle the Pennsylvania area, and they were running into swamps and whatnot. And they were saying they were seeing this creature. Now, I'm going to describe it to you based off of a book from 1910. So many moons ago. And it's a book called Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods. So the Squonk is of a very retiring disposition, generally traveling about at twilight and dusk because of its misfitting skin. Now, that's not misfit as like odd, doesn't, fit in. It's the terminology back then. This misfitting means that, like, think Shar-Pei, but way worse.
I was going to make a joke about Glenn Danzig, but go on. Misfit skin. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm here every
great.
week, folks. Right.
That's great. So
she's here all night, folks. All night.
Its misfitting skin was covered with warts and moles, and it's also always unhappy. Hunters who are good at tracking are able to follow a Squonk by tracking its tear-stained trail. How sad is this?
Yeah, I love this thing.
Because the animal weeps constantly.
Maybe this is Glenn Danzig.
It might be. And this creature weeps constantly because it's so dang ugly. It just hates life.
It just needs to fit in.
Yeah, it just needs friends.
We can make the Squonk happy again if we all join together.
I would hate to see what kind of earth-shattering, multiversal destruction that would bring, though, because this creature seems to be doomed to wander around in sorrow and sadness, because as these hunters get closer to it, it can actually get so sad that it will wail out and cry and dissolve itself in its own tears.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So,
I think the Squonk, listen, it's 2022. We have so many things at our fingertips. Right? Technology has advanced so far. Yeah. And I think that the Squonk just needs a BBL,
Yeah.
Do you guys know what that is?
Yeah.
It's a Brazilian butt lift.
Yep.
Yeah. We need to help the Squonk, Jess.
I think we can do that. We can help the Squonk.
It's going to need more than a butt lift. It's going to need like a all-over lift.
All right, so Jess, you need to go track one of these down, bring it in, and we will give it counseling.
Okay.
And you can go give it its butt lift, and we'll make it feel better.
We're gonna make this Kim Kardashian of the Squonks. That's what it's gonna be.
It's such a depressing little creature. I love it because I think it's just it's hilarious to me that these stories they just make me laugh sometimes, and that's one of them. I mean, it's a sad story, but it makes me laugh because. I don't know. I find it funny.
It's just such a weird one. And it's not one that's super popular. You don't hear a whole bunch about it. I know that here recently, you've got a lot of cryptid artists who are making stuff and making art and stuff, and they're running out of cryptids to make. So they're forced to make things like the Squonk and Octoman.
Yeah, but Squonk actually has a background, Joe.
Yeah, there's a bit of a background behind the Squonk, and it's also a very tragic background. I would envision Squonk as being like, an emo cryptid.
Okay, I want our listeners to chime in on this, like, immediately. Like, would you take a Squonk in? Like, I mean, because we need someone to help this thing and to realize its full potentials. Because There are millions of squonk out there in the forest. Some are very cold. All right. Anyway.
I'll take one after it gets that BBL. I'll put it out there. It can make some money for Mama.
Yeah, well, there you go. Whatever it takes. I mean, we can exploit squonks. It's fine. As long as
the squonk.
As long as it gets, happy. I don't care.
This is going to an even darker place now.
I just feel sorry for this little thing. So, whatever. Yeah.
All right, Ron, you are up with an obscure cryptid or not cryptid in your case.
It's not obscure. It's everywhere. And what's really funny is this is one of those things that I talk about all the time, how legends become life. We create these things.
I thought you were going to say aliens.
I'm going there. So what happens is we have a story that comes about, and it gets it's not really embellished. It's defined. Defined. So these defined stories all of a sudden have these origins, and they create these characters that take on a life of their own. And it's almost like the tulpa, right? Because they're like, we just created this thing.
Right. And for those of you who aren't familiar with what a tulpa is a manifestation of a psychic projection. So so like you are so afraid, or you're thinking so much intent towards creating or seeing a monster that you actually see the monster.
Yeah. And that's been proven, by the way. There's been tests that actually, like, psychological experiments where people do imagine seeing these things. But anyway, this one was not really so much of an imagination in its origin story. I'm talking about the not deer, because this is not a cryptid. Unlike Jess's story, which was probably a cryptid, this thing is not a cryptid. This is a misrepresentation of several events, in my opinion. This is my opinion only, but I'm going to draw it out for you, and you see where we go with this. But it really started as a retelling of some local stories, and it was edited together to make it more of a campfire type tale by one person. And, I know you guys think that these legends go back forever, but it really started in 2019. So it's not as old as you think it is.
It's a really fresh one.
It's a fresh one.
So this isn't something that's as ancient as Appalachia itself.
No. And there are some people who say that, by the way. That is the title. It's an ancient as Appalachia. No, it's not. It started in 2019 from a Tumblr post. That's where it started. But here's the fun part about the whole thing. In an interview with the actual creator of the story, the creator of the name, not the story, but the creator of the name, because it didn't exist. She came up with the name. As far as she's concerned, she is the one who originated it. And I give her credit for it too, because I think so too. But what's really funny about it is there's a lot of people who have kind of used the term not deer. And one of the stories that she quotes from kind of pulls that together. And it kind of goes like this. She claimed that witnesses and a couple of friends were driving on the Blue Ridge Parkway headed to a lake, but ended up not arriving at the lake in an alternate dimension where they encountered the not deer. Basically, the witness says that they were in a different place. It didn't match. They drove toward the lake, but never got quite to the lake. And they saw a deer, but she stopped, and the deer she notices that it's standing on two legs. So it's not a deer. Okay. So, after this, they end up somehow on the opposite side of town. They don't know how. My friends, that is consistent with an abduction. Okay. Laugh if you want, but it has been proven in multiple accounts of alien abduction that there are sightings of what, Joe?
Screen images of friendly creatures, something that's not going to terrify you. So deer, owls,
rabbits,
yes,
rabbits,
sheep, anything. Yes, deer are a very big. They're high on the list. So that is one that has been reported multiple times. Is it possible that the whole not deer thing actually somehow originated around a misrepresentation or a misinterpretation of an alien abduction? It could happen. I don't know. Look, I'm doing it. I don't care. Possibly aliens.
Okay. It's definitely not a cryptid, for one. Like anywhere you go on the East Coast or Midwest, for that matter, you're going to see just this crazy overabundance of deer, no matter where you go. Certain areas you go, they're going to be real heavy. Certain areas you go, they're going to be more lean. It's all going to have to do with seasons, and it's also going to deal with food supply. So it's not unheard of to see a deer that doesn't look like what you think Bambi should look like. You're going to see these emaciated deer come around the end of winter.
And chronic wasting disease is also a factor in
exactly.
Seeing deer that look like they're so emaciated that they're skin and bones. I mean, chronic wasting disease is very, very common in some deer populations.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. And so you're going to see a deer that can look very off-putting from what you would expect a deer to look like. And also, deer can move in ways that would blow your mind. People that don't spend any time out in the forest or have never spent any amount of time around wildlife, if you see a deer basically periscopes its head and looks straight down its spine at you because it turned its whole head around, that's not a deer's neck, like if you were to completely rid a deer of all of its muscle and sinew, you're going to see a long neck, just like you would with, like, say, a horse. And these deer can become alert, stand up straight, and they'll turn their head almost 180 degrees from where they're facing. And people freak out about that because all of a sudden, I'm looking at the back end of a deer, but I'm seeing its head too. Oh my God. Yeah, that's actually a report that I read. And I just wanted to beat my head off the desk.
Well, the whole standing up on its rear leg, they do that. You know that they stand up.
Yeah. Deer,
they do that all the time to
reach
food high up. It's not. Cats do it. Dogs do it.
Yes.
All four-legged animals, they will do that to reach stuff that's high up. So
that's right.
Deer also act stupid during the rut. So from right around the end of September, October, going all the way up into the first part of January, your deer, they go through 3 phases of the rut. And the rut is their breeding season, so their hormones are all jacked and crazy. They're losing their mind, but they're also practicing fighting. So it's nothing to see a deer out in the middle of a field, no food above its head, just stand up and like prancing and then slamming its head down towards the ground, just practicing its moves or something.
They will attack you too, by the way.
Oh yeah, they will attack you.
Yes.
And it's not uncommon to see that, and it's not uncommon to see deer do other bizarre random things, like a vertical jump, for example. That was another report that I've seen.
I have actually seen that. They're standing at a dead stop and jump over a fence. It's nothing for them. I grew up in the woods. I've seen deer, all my life. There was nothing unusual about it. What these things can do, people just, I don't know. It's like, I guess if you've never seen a deer, you think it's some kind of, it's odd, but it's not odd at all. They can do some pretty remarkable things. You're amazed at how something that big can move that fast, like you said. And from the vertical, just, they're jumpers. They're jumpers.
Yep.
I know for a fact about the standing up on the back legs and attacking. My uncle was actually attacked by a deer once. So that is exactly what happened. They stand up on their back legs, then they come at you. This is what they do when they, fight for dominance as well. So this is all part of a natural reaction. It's just that some of these things have been elevated to the point of, that's got to be what it is, Yeah. It's really not what it is. You're trying to impose these natural things that you don't understand on top of something that really was a legend or a mythology. Or maybe it was, like I said, alien abduction. I don't know.
Honestly, I could buy that over a not deer. anyway.
Oh, I would definitely buy screen images over this being something actually physical. Yes. I would possibly even buy that some of these may be whatever we've been talking about with the shape-shifting things. I'm not going to write that out, okay? But I'm not going to say there's these deer creature out there that aren't deer. I mean, I'm not going to do that. I can't. I see no evidence.
Zero supporting evidence. So what do you got on that, Jess?
About the not deer?
Yeah.
Not deer denied.
Not deer denied. All right. So do you have one last obscure cryptid for us?
I do. Yes, I do. It is the barilla. So
the barilla.
Barilla. Yes, the barilla. The barilla. So this kind of centers more around Kentucky than anywhere else. So the first sighting of it, the farmer that saw it, the first sighting that we know of it, the farmer that saw it described it as a bear gorilla, and that's where the name barilla came from. The little portmanteau there. But a lot of people also describe it as being like a bear, gorilla, wolf type hybrid looking creature, that it has features of all three. So, but there's no way to put wolf in there. Barilla wolf, I guess.
Right.
So, so there's actually a news story that there's a local news station to Louisville did a news story, and I will send that over to Ron, and he will link it in the description below, so you can actually watch the news story yourself and try to figure out if you can figure out what this creature is. So in the story, it's a neighborhood out in Louisville, Kentucky, and this guy has 2 Rottweilers. And some unknown creature shows up at his house and attacks his 2 full-grown Rottweilers, and just beats the brakes off of them, basically.
Wow.
And the dogs had slashes across their faces. I mean, these 2 full-size Rottweilers were just beaten by this thing. This man actually got a photo of the creature, and it was determined after, you have all of these people looking at this photo. To me, it kind of looks like a groundhog in a way, but experts are saying this is definitely not a groundhog. This is not a raccoon. This is not this and that. Plus, this is an insane, or a beaver or anything like that. This is an insanely aggressive and vicious animal. And the man, you can't tell in the photo how big it is exactly, but the man describes it as being way larger than any groundhog that is out there. So nearby, they were doing construction on the airport. And so apparently, prior to this incident, the airport has investigated sightings of groups of these things out near the airport where the construction was taking place. So there's a little possibility there that this creature could be a juvenile barilla that was pushed out of its habitat and into this neighborhood and attacked these 2 dogs.
Interesting.
Yeah. So around that area, in the surrounding counties in that area, there's a lot of stories about things like the Waddy werewolf or the Gateway werewolf that have similar descriptions. They're very thick-bodied. They're very aggressive creatures, and these are local legends to these areas. So I think that kind of goes hand in hand. So did a little research here, and there's a list here that I'm going to read off that is an interesting list of things in that particular area surrounding Louisville and Waddy, Shelby, Monroe, all these areas, that there's this spate of strange animal killings. And that's always like a thing that like sets off an alarm, is these really strange animal killings and mutilations and things like that. So February of 2012 in Waddy, Kentucky, we have 5 goats killed in a very mysterious attack. December of 2012, Shelby County, Kentucky, 6 goats killed and several bulls mutilated. September of 2018, Monroe County, Kentucky, 3 horses killed. An unknown number of dogs were killed and several calves. February of 2019 in Louisville, Kentucky. This is a very interesting chain of events here. So on the 18th, 6 llamas killed. The 22nd, 2 cattle killed. The 24th, 2 donkeys killed. And on the 26th, a local farmer sees a thick-bodied creature attacking his livestock. He shot at it and he thought he hit it, but it seemed like it was unaffected by his shots and it escaped. The story was dropped after that. And then the largest incident that occurred. This occurred in February of 2020. A 13-year-old boy was killed by an unknown creature. This happened in Knott County, Kentucky, and there was a huge disagreement about this. The story went nationwide. There was a huge disagreement about this between the sheriff's department and the fish and wildlife department and the coroner himself, that about the determination of death for this young man. So Fish and Wildlife claimed that the wounds were too large to be made by any local animal that was known, because they had seen,
I remember this one,
bites and wounds and tears that looked like they were so large that they were made by something that is not local to the area or a known creature of the area. So Fish and Wildlife is very adamant about that claim. The sheriff responds with that they didn't care what Fish and Wildlife said because they had seen all kinds of injuries and deaths attributed to knives, accidents, any kind of a blunt force object, any kind of tearing, automobile accidents, farm machinery accidents, anything like that. And that these were clearly wounds made by some sort of animal, that these were bites, these were claws. This young man was tore to pieces, and it was very, very gruesome. And the sheriff and the Fish and Wildlife completely disagreed on what happened to this young man. And then the coroner comes in and couldn't even make a determination. He said it was absolutely indeterminate what killed this young man. So, like I said, that became a national story. And you have just an ongoing spate of these things happening, just ramping up and ramping up and ramping up. And then you have all of these local legends of these werewolf, bearilla type creatures. And if you plot it out on a map, which I did, if you plot it out on a map, it's all kind of going in a circle, and it's all kind of, and I know this is Kentucky, but it's all kind of going in a circle, and these things are all kind of spiraling in a way. So I thought that was a pretty interesting story, and I guess we're waiting to see where the bearilla will attack next.
See, that's a really interesting one, especially with the report that you were just talking about, because we covered that on one of the first few episodes of Wild and Weird. We had talked about that incident and how it was so inconclusive, and how you had wildlife and what is that? Are you guys hearing that?
Not that.
It's gone now.
Ron was just beaming up for a second, so
I don't know what
that was weird.
That happens.
What'd you hear?
Oh, it sounded like I was stuck in like a wind tunnel. I heard a bunch of and static.
Speaking of which, do you have anything blowing around behind you? Because every now and again I see something moving back there.
No, like there's no air movement at all.
You're serious?
Yeah, like I've actually got the ducts and everything blocked off because we're not using this room, so that way no air pumps into this room at all.
Okay.
Ron, when you play that back and listen to the episode, you take a look at that sound that we just heard while Joe was talking just there. That was really, really weird. It was almost like, and none of the windows on my computer are open, so it wasn't my computer auto-playing anything.
I checked the audio here.
I have nothing going. That sounded very weird. That was very weird.
So you heard it.
Go ahead.
You heard it on your side?
I heard it. Yeah, I heard it.
So if I don't have it, then hopefully, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we've got 2 things recording, so hopefully we got whatever it was.
Yeah.
Hopefully we got it somewhere.
We'll check that.
So anyway, we had covered that report back on one of the first episodes of Wild and Weird because it was fresh. It was happening right then, and it was such a tragic case. But we somebody that Wayne knew got him some pictures of what this looked like, and it was not knife wounds, or it was, because Wayne lives Wayne is like right there, or was right there across from Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
And So he knew people all over the place. But yeah, the pictures that we saw were like, yeah, no, this was not knife wounds. These weren't. This is an animal, a big animal. Something happened to this kid.
Yeah.
And
this is what that's what the sheriff said, is that these are clearly not knife wounds. These are not caused by a man, with a weapon. This is caused by, these are bites, these are tears, these are, this is a large creature that just destroyed this young man.
What is weird about it is the part where you said that the guy took a shot at it.
Yeah.
That is almost identical to the report from Skinwalker of the first encounter that the landowner. Yes, right?
Yeah, he shot it. He shot that wolf several times. Yeah, on Skinwalker Ranch, the landowner shot at this wolf that was attacking his cattle, right?
Yeah.
It was retreating and walking. It wasn't even running away. It was like kind of like
just
shook it off.
Slow gallop, and he made contact several times. Like he shot it several times, and it had no effect on it whatsoever.
That is interesting, and the fact that you have it in a circular area where all these
the mutilations of animals and
very interesting
dead animals that just
you've got bulls being attacked. You've got donkeys being attacked. Like if it was. I understand goats. I understand calves. I understand, dogs. I understand something like that. Donkey. I mean, if you are familiar with donkeys
are vicious.
They are vicious. They are vicious. People
and they're tough as nails.
In with other livestock to protect them from coyotes and wolves. Yeah. But 2 donkeys being killed and then these bulls being mutilated, like really, really just torn up. It's there's something there. I'm not sure. But this is an ongoing kind of investigation for us right now.
Well, there's some crazy stuff out there. I mean, I think that's one of the things you take away from this is that somewhere they all get called cryptids, don't they? But some of them are literal monsters, because we don't know what they are until we actually can get into the point to understand it. But a lot of these things that get called cryptids, they're just retellings of legends, and maybe somebody saw something and they look back at those legends and they're like, oh, that fits, so they throw that onto it,
Yeah.
But there seems to be something there in a lot of these cases, something caused it. Something caused all these stories. It's just, to what degree did they cause them? But it's very interesting, though, and I don't think that we'll see any short list when it comes to cryptids or obscure cryptids, guys, because...
Oh, yeah, we'll be able to do another show on this in the future.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be more. There will be more. I mean, they're literally being created daily, I think. So,
I'm also hoping that next time if we revisit this topic, that maybe that our work that we do, that we can kind of give an update or kind of like go further on this last story that I brought up.
Yeah.
Because this is something that we are actively looking into right now. So hopefully I have some kind of update for you guys next time that we revisit this topic.
That's awesome. I like it.
That'd be awesome.
That's what we do, right? Because we're going to be doing the same thing with the orb thing. So, we're going to be doing an in-depth on that, which is going to involve a lot of research on your part and our part. And speaking of which, if you guys, this will be a couple of weeks from now. So if you want to get involved in this, if you have any sightings of orbs, if you have any stories of orbs, contact us. Like I said before, we don't need your name unless you just want to put it out there. We don't care, but we don't need your name. We just need a story. So if you had an account, add it to the list, because you may have the piece of data that we need that actually helps to validate someone else's claim at this point. And, that's what it's really all about. It's about trying to figure out what's going on and kind of normalizing it, I guess, if that's the right word for it.
Yeah, I think that would be a good way to put it. We're just trying to kind of normalize the paranormal.
Well, there's something there. We just don't know what it is. So define it, normalize it. Yeah, exactly.
So like Ron said, guys, if you have had a sighting, if you've seen an obscure cryptid yourself and you would like to report that, you can send it on over to wildandweirdwv@gmail.com. So if you've got any other kind of sighting that you'd want to report, if you just want to join us on the show at some point, you know where to reach us. If you want to help support Wild and Weird Radio and keep it free for eons to come, we're actually coming up with some new ways to go around all this stuff. But in the meantime, you can head over to wildandweirdwv.com. Go to the shop tab, click the shop button. It's going to open up all of the stuff that we have. You're going to be able to go peruse your way through our wares and have it delivered straight to your door. Now, if you guys, here's a big one. This is a big request. Get a hold of us and tell us your thoughts on how you would feel about joining us on a live show on a regular basis. We would like to hear some feedback from you guys because we can make it happen. But you got to go back and hit that shop tab. The more you hit the shop tab, the more likely that's going to be to happen. I think that about wraps us up. Jess, you want to sign us out?
Yes. So if you want to follow me and my adventures and my videos and everything that I do other than this show, you can find me at Hellbent Jessi on Instagram. You can go to my website, hellbentholler.com, or you can find me on YouTube at Hellbent Holler on YouTube. I'm actually kind of diversifying my channel a little bit. I'm adding some cooking stuff on there with a little cryptid twist, and in addition to my videos where we go out into the woods. And I think I'm going to start doing some knife stuff on there because I do collect knives and I love knives so much, and I think a lot of people that are interested in this kind of thing are also interested in that. So we're going to kind of meld a lot of that coming up. So go check that out, and as usual, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this show, because the more you like, subscribe, and share it, the closer we get to being out there in front of the world, and we can share all of our cool ideas, and you guys can be a part of the conversation in our Facebook group. You can always email or message any of us at any time. We love you guys. We appreciate all of your support, and everybody, stay wild, stay weird.
Well, I think
and remember,
she
guys,
said that better than you. Sorry.
Fine, whatever.
Yeah, she said that better than you.
I guess I'll just leave.
Yep.
But remember,
no, don't
if
don't
you guys
remember.
don't go like, share, and subscribe to Hellbent Holler and Wild and Weird Radio, there's about 100,000 squonks out there.
I don't know, but there is one thing that they can do, Joe. They can join us when we premiered this live, right? And we're going to be doing a giveaway like we did last week, right?
So if you don't join us live on next week's episode, then there's about 100,000 squonks who won't get their Brazilian butt lift.
And we tell really great jokes about Droop Mountain, you know? Be in on the inside jokes.
Yeah, you got to be there. You got to be there to be in on these inside jokes. Trust me, it's a lot of fun.
All right, guys, stay wild and weird, everybody. We're out.
Bye, guys. The bearilla will attack next.
See, that's a really interesting one, especially with the report that you were just talking about, because we covered that on one of the first few episodes of Wild and Weird. We had talked about that incident and how it was so inconclusive, and how you had wildlife and what is that? You guys hearing that?
Not that.
It's gone now.
Ron was just beaming up for a second, so
I don't know what that was.
That happens.
What'd you hear?
Oh, it sounded like I was stuck in like a wind tunnel. I heard a bunch of static.
Speaking of which, do you have anything blowing around behind you? Because every now and again I see something moving back there.
No, like there's no air movement at all.
Are you serious?
Yeah, like it's. Well, I've actually got the ducts and everything blocked off because we're not using this room, so that way no air pumps into this room at all.
Okay.